Welcome, everybody, to this week's podcast episode for the Financial Freedom for Physicians podcast. Today, we have a really special guest. His name is Ben Miller, and he's the founder and CEO of ChroniFi. And he's a superstar. He's started his career at Goldman Sachs, and now he's doing his own thing, creating a platform for individuals to manage their finances. And so that's what our discussion is going to be. Ben, welcome.
Thanks a lot for having me, Chris. It's so great to be here.
Yeah, it's great to really connect with leaders in the field. And what's interesting is you worked at Goldman, and tell us more about how you got started and your interesting experiences there and how you started ChroniFi.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I'll start here. Goldman was an amazing place to work right out of college. I can't imagine a better place to begin a career in a lot of ways, surrounded by really smart people, incredibly high performers. And sure, it was a pressure cooker, but that was what I wanted out of my first job. And it was very intellectually stimulating. And I had the privilege of working with some really great people. But I eventually wound up finding out that it wasn't what I wanted to do forever. So I started out with this mentality of, okay, I want to sprint for the finish line and get a big pile of money and live off the interest and then have that be that. But then I started realizing as time went on, when I'm on a vacation, even though I'm not in love with my job, a week and a half in, I'm itching to get back to work. So maybe not working forever is not the right solution for me. And for those of you watching on video, I guess you'll understand this better. But basically, I got to a point where I was like, okay, sprinting to the finish line is not all it's cracked up to be for me because Goldman took my hair. What else is it going to take from me? It's just, I knew I wasn't going to be able to do it to stomach it for a couple of decades. But anyways, it was an amazing place to start, and it really provided a great place to launch from.
Yeah. Yeah. In talking to a lot of executives, entrepreneurs, they start out with these high profile careers, doctors, lawyers, investment banking, and eventually they either go that route or they do something different. But sounds like you had the entrepreneurial bug, and sounds like you were looking more out of life. Tell us how you came about ChroniFi. The name is really interesting and what it does, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, thank you. We'll start here. Paired with that realization that I wasn't going to be able to stay there forever. It just wasn't the right fit for me, though it was an objectively amazing job to have, and I was grateful for it. I realized, okay, if I can't do this forever, just based on my own personality, then what am I going to do? And so I started really thinking about it and trying to understand, okay, I had won the lottery in a sense. It's a type of job that a lot of people should do feel very grateful for. But I realized, okay, how am I going to convince myself to go do something different? Because I knew I wanted to do something entrepreneurial eventually. Those types of companies are very good at making it hard to leave. And I was on the fence trying to figure out what the next chapter looks like and when it's going to happen. And so long story short, my wife and I visited Colorado a few years ago. And on the way home, she asked me, so when are we moving? So dutiful husband that I am, I coded up the answer, and the result was the precursor to ChroniFi. So essentially, since you asked, what it is, ChroniFi is personal finance software that helps people simplify their finances by understanding them in terms of time. And so that means you can see, okay, here's how long you can afford to be financially independent right now, given what you have in the bank, given your expenses, assumed investment returns, et cetera. So we try to stitch together all those disparate points of data about your life and boil it down to here's what really matters. Here's how strong you are financially. And then we also help people figure out, okay, how long will it be until I can retire or until I can take a pay cut to do work that's more meaningful? Whatever it may be, we help people figure out where they are on that journey. And then more importantly, track dynamically as time goes on, what's happening to their progress and then what it's coming from. So they can see, hey, over the last month, I got 6 months closer to retirement. Here's what's coming from my investments. Here's what's coming from savings, from my habits, et cetera. And really extract the signal from the noise and see what's going on under the hood.
Yeah. It's interesting because software is really scalable, and it's easy to onboard a lot of people, and the barriers to entry is a lot lower. What's really interesting is you pointed out this idea of looking at retirement in terms of time as opposed to finances, which is really revolutionary. Tell us more why people really focus on having X amount saved or versus what ChroniFi does, which is looking at time.
Yeah, it's a game changer, honestly. When I first came across these principles or ideas or the seeds of these ideas in a book called Your Money or Your Life by Vicki Robin. It's a FIRE movement kind of mainstay written in the 1900s. And so it's like basically that was the original gangster like of this sort of idea, at least as far as I'm aware. And what I realized, it hit me like a truck in my own life. That's just, oh yeah, this is why it's always been so difficult to understand. Dollars are abstract. $1 million means something totally different to different people. But when you boil it down in terms of this is my life, here's my time, suddenly it hits people right between the eyes. And for example, if you say, hey, your coffee habit is costing you $100,000, people's eyes glaze over. It doesn't mean anything. It's just like an abstract big sum of money. But when you say, hey, this coffee habit is delaying your retirement by 6 months, then suddenly people's eyes light up and they go, oh, okay, here's what this means in the context of my own life. And another example for me, when I was trying to decide, should I stay or should I go from Goldman, it became this type of thing where it's, okay, do I have enough? I don't know. What does enough even mean? And then when I boiled it down and distilled all the numbers, I realized that given my own situation, it was going to be a decade at least until money was actually a problem for me. And so all these nagging fears about, oh, am I giving short shrift to my kids? Am I fragilizing myself financially? Were replaced by this, dude, if it's going to be a decade until it's a problem, like that's tomorrow's problem. You can afford to go and take a risk and do something that's better aligned with who you are.
Yeah, that's interesting. And a lot of the what you're talking about really resonates in terms of the fire community and the movement is more how much income you're getting, passive income that you don't have to really trade your time for. What are your expenses? And then once you can meet your passive income to meet your expenses, then you're financially free. What sort of client or customer would really benefit from ChroniFi?
Yeah, I would say this, we are perfectly suited for people who are, call it 25 to 45 and fall into that sort of Henry demographic, the high earners who aren't rich yet. And so basically why we're perfect for them is because oftentimes they're the people who can see the insights and then act upon them right away. It definitely has something to offer for people who fall outside that specific zone because you need this type of software at every stage to figure out, okay, what do my finances actually mean within my life? But the people who are going to benefit the most from it immediately, and one of the reasons why I was so excited to speak with you, Chris, are the people who are in those types of professions where it's okay, they've gotten themselves to lift off financially and they're on their way to reaching escape velocity. And it's like our software is particularly helpful for evaluating how to make that happen the right way.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the how you talked about the person who has a high income starting out, but not wealthy yet. And it really, for doctors, averages 300K in debt by the time they're out. And it's crazy. And then it takes them about 20 years to catch up to someone who started working right out of college, saving and investing. What are some of the common misconceptions using your platform and your software, and how can people address those?
Yeah, it's first off figuring out what things actually mean within the context of somebody's individual situation is just something that in many cases other softwares are just not set up to do. People aren't used to being hit with that information. They're used to this standard of, okay, here's what these abstract numbers mean, and I just have to deal with those numbers like everybody else. But when you're able to dump in your accounts and have, without any categorization or anything, have somebody go, hey, dude, your sushi habit is delaying your retirement by 2 months. That's eye-opening. People can see automatically what these things mean within their lives. And it's not like a top-down, thou shalt not buy sushi sort of thing. It's like, okay, here's the insight, or here's the trade-off, make your own informed decision. And then as for things that can be easy to miss out of the gate, day one, we're able to translate people's numbers into here's what they mean in terms of your time, in terms of what really matters. And so there's that initial wallop of value is great and it's right out of the gate. But one thing that we've noticed with people using the software over months is the fact that later on is when the true big value comes out, because we start necessarily with an assumption about expenses, but it turns out almost everybody is wildly off. Even people who already use budgeting software have no idea what their expenses are, because what about these one-offs? What about these other things? What about how things are going to change in the future, et cetera? And so once you start to dynamically track in like a comprehensive and holistic way what your actual level of spending is. And then more importantly, pipe that through to what it actually means in terms of your life. That's where the real value comes from, is being able to go, yep, okay, here's where I was 2 weeks ago. Here's where I am now, boiling in all of the latest data and what it means extrapolated out through the future.
Yeah, it's interesting. What are some of the successes that you've seen so far with clients using the software? What are they saying about it? I'm just really curious about that.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked, because I've been surprised in some instances. There are some instances where it's been like, okay, yeah, that's exactly what we built this for. I'm so glad to see that it's working in that way. And then once in a while, it'll be something that's, wow, I didn't even think about that. And now somebody's telling me this is how it was useful in their lives. And for example, we've got somebody who, these are all paid subscribers. Like basically, we've got one person who was working at a FANG company and wanted to go and move to a new startup, but was trying to figure out, okay, can I swing this financially, et cetera? He was on paternity leave, trying to figure out where his job should fit into his life. And so found ChroniFi and dumped his numbers in and saw, oh, I'm in a stronger position than I thought. And so within 6 months had moved on to another startup that was better aligned with his values. And so that's right down the middle. That's exactly what I built the software to do. Then I also had somebody who said that over the last 6-9 months, they really got key value out of the software from the element that disentangles what they can control from what they can't control. And this woman is somebody who was trying to figure out, she's maybe a decade or so away from retirement, trying to figure out, okay, where does this fit in? Like, how does what the market's doing right now impact my plans? And she really got peace of mind from the fact that she was able to see, okay, here's what the market's doing, but here's what I can actually control. And so able to see, okay, I'm doing all right on the things that I can control. And moreover, that what's going on in the markets is not destroying me. Like I'll still be okay. And then the last one is my favorite, which is like this guy who was working at a company that was well aligned with his values. It's like a green energy company. And he likes his job, but he's just getting burnt out. And so he had 16 projects when somebody would normally only have 3. And so he was trying to figure out, okay, how can I do this? I like my job. I like the people I'm working with, et cetera. It's just not sustainable. So when he put his numbers in, he was able to see, wow, okay, I don't need this job. And so that gave him courage, gave him psychological leverage to go to his employer, his boss, and say, listen, this is not working for me. Here's what needs to happen. And so what happens after that conversation? His boss gives him an assistant. And all of a sudden, everything's solved. He's able to sustainably continue that job. He's better off. His boss is better off because he doesn't lose a great employee. It's just, I didn't foresee that when I was building the software originally. I thought it was going to be something where I was like, okay, this will be really helpful for people who are thinking about changing their jobs. But what that showed me is that it's also really helpful for people who are looking to get the most out of their current jobs and really right size where it fits into their life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite interesting. It sounds like it's a whole spectrum, and depending on what your client needs, look like they found success using different aspects of the software.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's quite interesting. I'm really excited to bring on startups and really game-changing ideas, especially in personal finance, and help people manage their finances better, reach financial independence, freedom faster, easier. And I know a lot of the audience would be really interested in connecting with you, following you, contacting you. How can they do that?
Yeah, it's first of all, the product is live and available for use. It's at chronify.com. And basically, it's one of the best places. I've also got a blog and podcast. There are links there. The ChroniFi podcast is my podcast. And that's pretty much it. I try to keep it simple and lean. And people, I would welcome anybody to reach out to me individually, because this is just, why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I want to reallocate human capital to its highest and best use. I want to bring people from what they are doing to what they should be doing. And if that's what they are already doing, then great. That's awesome. I'd love to be along for that journey. And if that's something different, then I would love to help shepherd them along that way. So that's where my head spends all of its time. That's why I built this company in the first place. And so if that's the type of thing that's on your mind, reach out, because I love chatting.
Yeah. And for the audience, all of Ben's resources will be in the links and show notes. Definitely check out ChroniFi. It's really revolutionary software and really changing the way personal finance is done for high income professionals. So thanks so much for coming on to the podcast and we look forward to hearing about your future success.
Thank you, Chris. It was a pleasure chatting with you, and I'm looking forward to staying up with you as well.